Beautifully abused.
Well, good morning. Bob Cobb, Capital Watch Report. This one's coming from Madison College. So at Madison College, we have UW Madison instructors who teach us the ropes about feminism. It's the most talked about subject at Madison College in the social sciences fields, especially sociology. Dr. Elizabeth Galuski, my speech instructor for argumentation and debate, made clear that anything MAGA related, conservative, or the like was not welcome, nor military discussion welcome in the final project. My freedom of academic expression was suppressed by feminism. And I was told that those who don't get on board with feminism will ultimately be considered terrorists, which eventually came true. It's called Operation Vigilant Eagle. Barack Obama declared veterans as terrorists of the state, especially those who have diagnoses of psychological disorders, i.e. post-traumatic stress disorder, military sexual trauma, or traumatic brain injury. I've made it known that I have traumatic brain injury. I've used social media to conquer traumatic brain injury, to study the times when my speech impediment comes through and what's causing it, right? And the amount of backlash I've received, especially from people who identify as the Cannabis Legislative Society down here, have followed that feminism model. Seek, destroy, cancel, and use politics as a weapon. I'll give you an example. So we had to argue, should we ratify the 19th Amendment to say that men and women are equal? And you being a straight white Christian male in a college classroom with a college professor who says, I am queer in her lectures, who was a graduate of Wesley University, who was also an intern for Hillary Clinton, it really puts you in a fearful state, a survival mind, right? So she said in our lectures that military PTSD and sexual assault on campus are one and the same. That women who are held hostage, they don't need specific accommodations. So why does this instructor have to accommodate a veteran who has a diagnosis? You see, that argument right there is a non-existing argument. An instructor cannot argue with you, whether they identify as a feminist or not, the validity of your disability. And so thus, because of this occurrence, I've created the term queer mongering. It's happening at Madison College to veterans. When we sit in the college classroom, immediately, those of the LGBTQ society who identify as instructors use us as scapegoats during their lectures. Hold us beyond the scope of the time of 15 minutes allowed after class to chastise us and share with us their political views of military service as racist. But most of all, the black queer agenda. Let's talk about that. The hidden agenda and everything that goes on here in the city of Madison. It's ingrained in everything, including spray painting the Veterans Museum. But what I've learned about feminism is that it's built on lies and deceit. To trick people into feeling bad for who they are. And as a form of manipulation, is a form of psychological abuse. So I've looked up the Madison College policy. It's 5511. And as your Capitol Wolf Watch here at Bob Cobb, in this mobile operation, you can reach out anytime on this messenger and drop me a tip, and I will go investigate it, free of charge, pro bono. and I will bring back to you the report. And if you want to use the Wisconsin Shield Law as a part of my citizen journalism unit, my anti-terrorism, counterterrorism upstander program, you can request Freedom of Information Act records from the Department of Justice, from the state capitol, and the like, and your delegates, and exercise your freedom to protect your identity through the Wisconsin Shield Law with my role as a journalist. But not only that, as a law student, you will also have access to LexisNexis, and you will be able to self-represent. There's nothing in the law that says you can't self-represent. And a matter of fact, on its face, under Wisconsin Supreme Court Rules, Chapter 24:3, if you look in there, you will see your rights as an unrepresented litigant. And that under that lawyer is held to that standard. And what I learned this week from the Wisconsin Supreme Court is that if your lawyer violates Chapter 20, or the opposing litigant, the respondent, the plaintiff, and whoever you're facing in court, complainant, that an attorney is not at liberty to completely undermine you and your case, because those rules govern unrepresented litigants. So I want to share with you a story coming up, a podumentary, about a man named Jesse Schwark and how he was a pro se representative. And what we're going to do is we're going to expect both the dicta of the feminist judges, who, all three, Judge Karofsky, Judge Chris Taylor, and Judge Ellen Burtz, and their capricious exercise of authority on Jesse's case, knowing full well they could, because sadly, Mr. Schwark was a pro se litigant. You see, I saw Jesse get a lot of flack from feminism in Madison, saying that he was a heretic because he's white. Well, that's the black queer agenda. We call it the rainbow mafia down here. So as your Capitol Wolf watcher, I want you to know the queer-mongering zones. I want you to know where the LGBTQ community, and I don't call them that because I don't have to give into alphabet soup. I don't have to give into disability stratification or minority stratification. That's what it is. It's reverse engineering the straight society, the conservative society. It's putting lesbian women on the top, gay men second, transgender third. And why transgender people follow this model is beyond me, because very well could lead the disability society and be the leaders of the disability society at the top. What I learned in my college research about Vietnam veterans is that transgender ideations stem from being held hostage. And as somebody who is a representative of legislative affairs, I've learned what's called mental toughness. I read a book from a guy who was confined to a wheelchair because his disc in his back exploded. He didn't let that bother him. He went on to train and teach and develop United States Army newly transitioning soldiers into civilian life who experienced multiple deployments of combat. And on the other side, he had a 78% success rate with tackling the veteran suicide issue, talking people out of it, talking people down off the ledge, giving them material and literature. You see, there's other people out there in society fighting feminism besides Charlie Kirk. There's lots. And in the veteran community, feminism doesn't serve us. So if you have a good story you want me to follow, something about a faculty member or a delegate in our Capitol or a judge who's corrupt, reach out to me here, Bob Cobb. This is my underground news network. I'm creating a cell to watch the wolves, the sociopaths in the city of Madison, Wisconsin, where our state capital is, and how they misrepresent justice and how they queermonger veterans in college. That's all I got. Peace be with you. Well, good morning. Today, I'm getting ready to start up this content blending manual that takes an epithet through the journey of becoming a science communication variable to protect free speech. Now look, I don't agree with epithets at all, not at all. However, there is a scientific value. So what I'm trying to understand is who is the power group in college and who is the elk group. I am the elk group, me, United States Army veteran who uses GI benefits. And so with this term that I'm creating called queermongering, it talks about stifling me and my identity, just like it stifled Charlie Kirk. Well, good morning. I want to share with you some truth about your employer that you need to know. So I'm reading right now under the Uniform Limited Liability Code, State Statute 105, provides that an operating agreement may not relieve or exonerate a person from liability for conduct involving bad faith. The operating agreement refers to your managers. Willful or intentional misconduct, that would be stalking, or knowing violation of law. Well, let me explain this to you. So on 4 occasions, while working in the journalism scene and studying law, I've had to use a pseudonym to differentiate from my business. This is called doing business as. It's a fictitious name filing. So with this, I've decided that private investigation and employment law are the field that I should enter. Seeing how all the times that I've gone through these violations that are laid out for corporations, I might as well write a book, educate you where to find the information, how to present the information, not give legal advice, but just a little bit of law review. It doesn't hurt. That's what we're going to do here at Regent Street Snitch and Stitch. It's coming. Today I filed the articles of incorporation. I'm only seeking 2 more people to operate A, my sewing business, and B, my private investigator business. In between the two, we have Bob Cobb Freelance Inc., Regent Street Snitch and Stitch, a local community Madison sewing circle of faith to report, like it says in here, conduct involving bad faith, willful or intentional misconduct, or knowing violation of law. That's the 3 services I provide you here at Bob Cobb Freelance Inc. LLC. Doing business as Bob Cobb, doing business as Regent Street Snitch and Stitch. Peace out.